And I just looked at him, I said, uncle, like, see that guy over there? I want to be like him. So he said to my parents, "ये तो Mirasi बनना चाहता है." Mirasi means low class singer, dancer, someone, a vagabond. So he said to my parents, send him back to Pakistan immediately. And that's what happened. I was sent back to Pakistan to study medicine in Lahore. But the country that I had now returned to had radically changed. When I was born, Pakistan was a democracy. There was music, poetry, theater, dance, all holy ground. Pakistan had amazing TV programs. Women had choices. If you chose to cover your head or not, that was nobody was going to force you to do that. But now there was a military dictatorship in General Zia al-Haq who was now forcing people to embrace a form of Islam which was alien to Pakistan. And bear in mind now that 99% of the people who lived in Pakistan were already Muslim. So to say to them that I'm going to make you better Muslims, what he did was he banned music on the radio, banned music on TV. You couldn't play guitar music anywhere. There was gender segregation, forced gender segregation. If men and women were holding hands in parks, they risked, going to jail, and worse, being flogged. Poor people, and this obviously applied to poor people. And I arrived as an 18-year-old in this environment, wanting to be a guitar player. But, after 6 months, it was so oppressive, that we as first-year students decided we're going to do a secret talent show. Say we will lose our minds if we don't do something, we don't put something together, we will lose our minds, so let's do something. So the question was, what can we do? There's 60 of us, and somebody could sing, somebody could tell a joke, somebody could juggle, and me, I could play the guitar. And also in there were people who had memorized the Quran, so they read verses from the Quran. So we hired out a small ballroom off campus to do this secret talent show. Nobody knew, we thought. And so we went there, and that night, I was thinking, this is my first and last chance to sort of make something out of my dream, to be, listen to the whisper in my heart. And as that talent show opened, one of the students read this line, which I remember always from the Quran. He said, it says in the Quran, we created you from a mother and a father and made you into nations and tribes, so you may get to know one another. And I thought that's a great message. It's a really powerful message. And everything was going well. Even the juggler who juggled by throwing a ball up, catching it, and then throwing a ball up and catching it, was good. He got applause, And then it was my turn. And I got up on stage. Accompanying me, there was a student whose name was Munir, but he was a big Dirty Harry fan. So everyone called him Clint. And Clint was going to play drums. But the drum set was one snare drum and one bass drum and half a cymbal. So I looked at him, I said, each time I do something, just hit the drums hard. That's all you have to do. So I got up on stage, turned up my amplifier, and went. Now, as that sound got louder, and my teenage dreams of being a rock musician stopped the blood flow to my head, I closed my eyes. And as soon as I closed my eyes and I started playing, I started hearing shrieks and screams. So I thought, wow, I'm already a rock star. And then the shrieks got louder and louder, and instinctively I opened up my eyes. And what had happened was that that these Jamaat Islami students had gate crashed. And they started screaming, Fahashi, 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 Fahashi. Vulgarity, vulgarity, vulgarity. And few of them threw, chadars and burqas on the girls. One of them came up, looked at me like I was some sort of this alien creature, grabbed my Les Paul, And there was a marble floor, a green marble floor like this. He smashed once Les Paul on that green marble floor. So I was trying to process what had just happened. From a moment where I was thinking, I'm following the whisper in my heart. And everybody's loving this because I thought, there was adulation, these screams of adulation. My dream was smashed on the ground. And the other thought was that, rock musicians smash their own instruments. I mean, how more humiliating can it get when somebody else comes and smashes your instrument? So that was my welcome back to Pakistan as an 18-year-old. And the initial, as anybody, when somebody comes and says, you do this again, I will kill you, and they have AK-47s, because this was the time of the Soviet Roll Jihad. There was another war happening in Afghanistan. And General Zia-ul-Haq, because he was fighting on behalf of the West, fighting the communists, was an ally. So anything he did in Pakistan, he stepped on civil rights, was fine. People looked the other way. But for us, growing up, it was, we had no life. It was like having the Taliban in power. So 4 years went by, 5 years went by, and I realized I don't want to get killed. I don't want to play the guitar. I put my guitar away. I started playing cricket. And this is where, again, I come back to what the power of the whisper in your heart, that it was out of the blue that a friend of mine, his name is Junaid Jamshed, many of you might know, he's a singer. He was also studying to be an engineer in Lahore. He came up to me and he said, he had this sort of wide-eyed look in his eyes, and he said, look, I've heard that you know how to play the guitar. And we have a band called the Vital Signs, and we don't have a guitar player. We would love for you to be part of this band. And I said, look, I'm not interested because, I'll do this as a hobby because as everybody says, beta iska hobby rakho. I'll do this as a hobby, but where can you go playing Western songs, And he said, no, I'm not saying play Western songs, listen to this song. So he took out a cassette, put it in my car cassette machine, and it was this song. ऐसी ज़मीन और आसमान इनके सिवा जाना कहाँ बढ़ती रहे ये रोशनी चलता रहे ये कारवां दिल दिल पाकिस्तान जा जा पाकिस्तान दिल दिल पाकिस्तान जा जा So when I heard that song, same thing happened, whisper in the heart. It just grabbed my heart. I don't know what it was about that song, but I realized this is what I want to do. And I told him, I said, as soon as I graduated from medical school, because I had promised my mother, and also my mother-in-law, who said you can only marry Sabina if you get a degree from medical school. So I said, let me graduate from medical school, and I will play, I will join your band. But here's what happens now, a confluence of facts. Dil Pakistan gets released, and overnight, it becomes an anthem for millions and millions of young people who, under General Zia-ul-Haq, had been suppressed. There was no youth entertainment, and becomes an anthem for young Pakistanis. At the same time, General Zia-ul-Haq, the military dictator, who's been in power and seems to be wanting to stay in power for another 50 years, his plane mysteriously crashes. And right when democracy comes, people vote in a 35-year-old Oxford graduated woman in Benazir Bhutto. So you think culture, music coming up, democracy coming back, end of military dictatorship and extremism, and all of a sudden, schizophrenically,